We are live, starting the stream. Morning, everyone. This is episode... What is it? Is it 279 or 280? No, 278. Getting ahead of myself. Episode 278. Being recorded on the 15th of September or the 16th, if you're me in the future. Yes. So yes, as I was saying, Blay, I use a real kettle. Because I want my water properly hot. I actually brought a kettle into work because I only had one of those spigot things which supposedly have boiling hot water, but it isn't really. It makes a really bad cup of tea. Anyway, so it's just something that Blacklock was asking earlier. Kettlecast. Let's see. What else do I have to do? I have to tweet. Chill. I've worked out all the... whatchamacallits, tips of the week. I think we're good to go in a second. Now, our guest is Hawk, who you probably will have seen in our chat and on Twitter.
Hello.
And has written into the show before, I think.
Yep.
At least tweeted.
A few times.
Yeah. Alright. Tweeted. And looks like Deck tweeted as OotiniGuilds. Let me retweet that too. Alright.
I don't think Twitch is showing it being live yet.
Alright. Okay. Now there is some lag. Now this last time it just didn't work. But sorry, the week before it just didn't work. Last week it was fine. I'm just firing up Twitch myself.
There it is. It just started up for me.
Yeah, it just started up.
Showing us off. Oh yeah, there we are. Okay, cool. Alright, so that's okay. Microwaving water, no. No, Blay, no. That's just wrong. Not that there's anything wrong with microwaves, but it just doesn't work. Not for tea. Though I've been drinking a lot of coffee recently, which I don't think I'll do again. It's a terrible experience. Alright, anything... Chill, are you recording? Hawk is?
I am recording.
Alright, let me just make sure I'm ready to go. Test, test,
Hawk, are you recording?
He is.
Yes, I am.
He got it to start before you joined the call. Or he volunteered, actually. Save as. I'm just saving my Audacity project. Oops. And I can hear a jackhammer in the background. Fantastic.
Is that where you are?
Yeah. Seems a little unlikely, given where I live, but sure, why not? That's it. Game was a bit low. Alright, ready to roll. Let's do it, Chill.
Alright, going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. Justification. If I wait for my opponents to be ready, they may not die efficiently. This is episode 278, being recorded on Thursday, September 15th, 2016. I'm your host, Chill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey. Hey, guys. And truer words were never spoken.
That's right. We have a new guest today, Hawk. You might have seen him on Twitter and so forth. So, Hawk, how you been? And tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in SWTOR.
Hey guys, thanks for the invite. I am actually an IT consultant for a Fortune 500 company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and love the job. And as far as being in SWTOR, mainly play the bounty hunters. I have 4 of them.
Nice.
One of which is in Utini Rage, and the other 3 are in my guilds, Hawk's Nest and Hawk's Flight. They're all on the Harbinger, obviously, and one of which, the one bounty hunter is Void Invalid, and that's in the Utini Rage, and I'm currently doing the Shadow of Revan expansion, and I'm tweeting that on my Twitch channel, and that's twitch.tv/Hawk53051, and that's an E at the end.
Very nice. And what have you been doing else? Like, sorry, outside of the game, what else have you been doing?
Oh,
Like in the community, in the SWTOR community.
Your
on the
Facebook pages,
Sword.
for example.
Oh yeah. I run the SWTOR Players Club on Facebook, and
Nice.
also the SWTOR's Gamers Den on Facebook as well. And besides that, I'm also just doing like the website work for our guild page, and that's on Engine. All of the links are actually on my Twitch page, so
We will
Excellent.
link to all that in the show notes, of course.
awesome.
All right. And how have you been enjoying the recent content?
I like the Cot Feast stuff. I have
Hmm.
actually completed chapter 16 on one of my bounty hunters that's in Hawk's Flight, and I like the end fight. I really love the mechanics of that.
That's cool. Yep. Did you were you subscribed so that you could do the HK chapter?
Actually, unfortunately, I was one of those people that were not. I had let my subscription lapse a little bit for a couple of weeks, and it turned out that I was not eligible for it.
Oh, that's a shame, especially when it is only for a couple of weeks out of that whole period.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess you'll have to look at the videos on that are on YouTube and so on.
Oh, I watched you play it.
Oh, okay,
There you
good.
So, yeah.
Even better.
I liked your choices.
Yeah, they were fun. They were fun. I do want to see it on some other characters and take some of the other options, though.
You might want to
But-
do it on Chill Santa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chill Satan.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I probably will on him because I'm taking
Okay.
him all the way through coffee for sure.
Okay.
All right. So, Tio, how about your week?
Well, I really, really wished I had played, because I'm actually really missing the game, which is getting a little sad. Yeah, so I was travelling again. But it would appear that at least next week I don't have to travel, and things may be coming to an end of that phase of our project. So
Very nice.
hopefully no more travel down to Adelaide. Instead, I'll be travelling to Canberra, our nation's capital.
That's right.
Wonderful place. Anyway, so yes, I haven't really had a chance to play, but I do really want to. There is another distraction, which we will get to in the news.
Excellent.
Anyway,
Nice tease there.
that's my rather sad week. Over to you, Chill.
All right. First, let's do a shout out to the chat room. Blay is here. Born to Eat Bacon. Count Luku. Dekion. Dispel53. Dread is here. Elion. D2. Farseer. Gahana. Gator Skull 1289. Hawk is here as Hawk53051. Siskaika. Stavis. Togakan. And Zenkata are all here. Hello, everyone. All right. Pretty basic this week. Got a few streams in on Chill Satan. Got him through Yavin 4, then worked on Kotfi, and I'm at the start of Chapter 5. Still like him as a character, which is kind of odd, because I more or less started him as a joke for the Dark versus Light Side event, but I'm still enjoying actually doing these role-playing Satan, essentially, and it creates some fun, interesting tension in the story sometimes. So, still loving that. And yeah, I've got to get him through coffee, and then I got to go back to Santa and get Santa up to 65 and do a few other things to get where I want to on Dark versus Light. So that will bring us to the tip of the week. We've got 4 tips this week. I'll start us off with one from Kujak on the Bastion. He writes, in Chapter 12, Visions in the Dark, you can complete the Dark versus Light achievement, Living Plague, as the Shade Stalkers are counted as rat ghouls.
There you go. Useful to know,
Interesting.
so be sure to slaughter in great numbers. Alright, our next tip is from Jagger on Beggar and Colony. Here are some things I do or have done. 1. Buy Legacy Quick Travel to Priority Mission Vessel, Ziost, and then normal Quick Travel to the Fleet. Quicker loading, then using your Stronghold, and puts you in a better position on Fleet instead of its Shuttle Bay. Now, I assume that's instead of using your Fleet Travel, which is like 0 cooldown for us. So
Right,
I
but
wonder
not,
if this
not
is
for
useful.
everyone.
Exactly. If you're not a subscriber, for example, and you haven't bought all of the unlocks, it is a lot longer.
Right.
But the fleet travel will put you in the same place as the fleet quick travel. So, yes. Number
And
2...
didn't they change the stronghold exit so that it is now where the normal fleet exit is?
I've had different experiences with that. Yeah, no, they didn't. It will often put you back in the shuttle bay.
Okay, so in fact, yeah, it is a little more convenient to not use the stronghold in that case.
Number 2, Rishi Legacy Armor, weapons, etc. are great for level 60 to 64 PvE and PvP due to bolster. Save your crystals and comms for buying stuff at level 65. Certainly, definitely true for PvP and pretty much true for PvE as well. Wait until you get level 65 only gear to spend your comms and crystals.
Definitely. The Rishi gear is really nice, actually. Oh.
Number 3, buy the Legacy Space Experience Boost. That's not GSF, this is on-rail space. Easy and quick leveling, cruising through on-rail space missions. They're not as easy as they seem, especially high-level missions, and make sure you try for the bonus each time. And these missions are quick as. And fun. They really are fun.
Is quick as sort of Aussie slang or something?
Or New Zealand, quick as.
Quick as, and it's just a shorthand way of saying quick as anything,
Very
quick as
quickly.
lightning.
Yes.
Right. Nice.
Number
Does
4.
anybody ever still play Galactic Starfighter? Because I know that there's only 3 maps, and it's not very popular.
Well, we know that people do try to get things going, and in our guild, we sometimes have folks, who recruit people in, to do it at certain times of the week and so on. But it can be a little rough getting a pop. If you're going to get a pop, probably easier on the Harbinger than anywhere else. So
It's become very niche, but the people who play it really, really love it.
yeah.
Though, if they ever added a PvE version of GSF, it would be awesome and far, far more popular. In the meantime, us PvEers, Care Bears, as it were, have only got the on-rails, which is cool in its own right.
Right. Yes, and exactly. If you haven't done the on-rails, like if you're semi-new to the game and no one's talking about it, so you haven't tried it, it's absolutely it's a fun little experience, and despite it being on rails, it's very well done. It's beautifully put together. It can be very challenging, like Jagar said, and it's very worthwhile in terms of the credits you get and so on, the experience if you're still leveling. There are lots of little hidden bonuses that you can find. It's totally worth doing, and in fact, I'm kind of looking forward to doing it again now that it's been a good long time and I've gotten out of practice.
Now, what are the rewards on the rails stuff?
You get, what are they called? Fleet comms?
Yeah, fleet comms, so that you can buy the things to increase your ship armor and so on, armor and weaponry, and then credits and experience.
Okay, that's for the on rails as well as GSF.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, yes, but they're different. The fleet comms
Completely
are
separate
different.
systems.
Yeah, the
Right.
comms
No
are different from the
interchange.
ones you'll use for GSF.
For
I see.
GSF, you get the fleet rec, and the requisition was the currency that they used.
Right.
Fleet rec and shipwreck, if I remember correctly. Jeez,
That's
it's
right.
been a while. My God. All right, back to Jagar's tips. Number 4, when you unlock a crystal you like, as in a color crystal for a lightsaber or blaster, get a few more from collections and put into your legacy weapons for your other toons. Same with weapons if you dual wield and your companions too. So as soon as a crystal or anything else really is in your collection, you can make as many as you like, and if you share it, unlock it for your account, you can mass produce them for all of your characters and their companions, basically. Not that
Right.
that has any meaning anymore, so there's actually no point in equipping them on your companions, because they won't affect anything, because their stats are based on yours now. Geez, that was a good change, but it will obviously affect the look of the
It's just a
weapon
look
when they
thing.
use it, so it's purely cosmetic. Now, number 5, make sure you finish your class mission before starting Kotfi, as you can't go back for titles. My assassin will forever be a lord. Yes, it's something they warn about when you start Chapter 1 of Knights of the Fallen Empire. It will finish your class story, and you can never go back on that character. But only that character. A good thing to remember that. And lastly is number 6. Strongholds are a quick travel to the planets they are on. which
That's
is true.
true.
Black Hole and Section X priority travel, then quick travel, are quicker ways to Corellia and Belsavis. So yes, you've got all the various planets that have got strongholds. If you're in the stronghold, you can just exit locally, and that will put you at the place you would enter your stronghold from that planet.
Right.
And for Black Hole and Section X priority, they're the quickest ways to get to Corellia and Belsavis, respectively.
Something I found while I was leveling this last time is I was exiting a planet that I hadn't actually gotten to the planet yet, but I knew I was going there, and I ended up on the fleet after a flashpoint. Grabbed one of the heroic ones, so ended up somewhere weird on that planet. But you always have, like, there's always one place on this near the starport or the base, or or wherever the starting point is, and that's always automatically unlocked. So you always have a place to go, quick travel wise,
right.
Even if you haven't really been to that planet before on that character. So no worries, you can still grab one of the heroics on the fleet, go to the planet, quick travel, and at least you're at the starting point of that planet.
And of course, a quick run through the speeder network, and we'll get you all the other quick travel points, because you don't have to click on them anymore to get them, and you already know all of the speeder points on every planet.
Yep.
Wow, it's so changed since the old days where you actually had to discover all that stuff just by hoofing it, or speedering it. Anyway.
And speaking
right.
of which, the old OotiniCast episodes are very interesting to listen to, because it tells you guys discuss what's in the game and all of that stuff, and it's really interesting to see what's changed and what is still in there and what works and what doesn't and all of that stuff.
It's so amazingly streamlined, so in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You could say matured as an MMO.
Yep, definitely. All right, third tip from Freddy of the Red Eclipse. He writes, I would recommend everybody should loot before interacting with an object or an NPC, or else the loot can be lost.
Now, what I think he's talking about is when you're in a phase or whatever, and there's a character you need to talk to, that will often put you into a cutscene. And when you come out of the cutscene, any loot that you had on NPCs you killed is probably gone because the NPCs have despawned.
Yep.
There is a timer on that stuff, so you got to be quick.
Right. And for example, with Kotfi, you might be in a whole different area after the conversation. You might not even be in that area.
Yes, you will get shuttled around. And Sky Troopers. Anyway, last tip is from Helmet, an OotiniCast listener in Germany. I'm not sure if this is our first German correspondent, but we haven't had one from Germany for a while. So thank you for writing in, Helmet. And he says, a few days ago I created my first character, a female Ratataki operative named Drari, on the Harbinger server. So this is the first character ever. This is just first on the Harbinger. So obviously that's a US West Coast server, in fact. So I started my career on Hada and thought maybe I can speed up my travel time to the different locations of the storyline by accepting all heroic missions on the planet. It worked out very well. I compared the next location of the storyline as I went with the locations of my heroic missions, and used the fast travel option from the heroic missions to decrease my travel time, basically kind of jumping ahead as the heroics were in those locations where he would have to go otherwise for his story. Very good. I also finished all heroic missions to get the achievement for the planet and to get good gear. I did the same on the next planets, Korriban, Balmora, etc. Maybe someone else brought this up already, but I haven't heard it in the cast so far. We've just got a general recommendation about using the quick travel on the heroic missions. You can just pick them all up and they'll give you a bunch of quick travel to all kind of places or various planets. So yeah, it's a good tip to actually use it for the leveling process to kind of pull you along or hop ahead. That's kind of cool.
Nice.
He also says, I'm very impressed by the population on the Harbinger server. I joined at different times, and because of the time difference of 9 hours between Germany and the West Coast, I expected a deserted Harbinger server. But although I joined at noon at my local time, there were more people online on the fleet on the Harbinger than on his home server of Avenger Valus chain. Wow. Which is, I believe, the German language server? PvE server, I think.
Yeah. I don't even recognize the name.
Yeah, one of the Euro ones. Well, back when they were PvP servers, now they're all the same, of course. Except for they still differentiate by language on the European side.
That's cool. All right, by a random allotment, the winner is Jagar. Congratulations, you're the winner of a Tonfon or M83R droid pet code, courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast provided Cartel Market pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Wednesday. And that will bring us to the Holo feed. Tio?
Firstly, someone on Reddit posted that it is not possible for customer support to credit the bonus chapter, as in the HK55 chapter Shrouded Memory. So this guy's story was, at one point he changed payment methods, cancelled his Visa, had to wait for a MasterCard at the end of June, and so his sub lapsed for about a week. Otherwise he had a steady subscription. And so it looks like he wasn't subbed at the beginning of the month, so the general theory was you had to be subbed on the 1st to be eligible for each monthly reward across that full period, from January through to August, to actually get access to HK55. So he missed out on that month. So he submitted a ticket and he was told that they cannot release it. The customer support do not have the tools. You must have an uninterrupted subscription. That was the incentive for people to stay subscribed. And even though he explained it's life happens, because credit cards changing over, etc., and even though that was the only week that he missed, well, it's kind of tough. They just can't do it. So yeah, if you had a payment hiccup that happened to cross that first of the month boundary, it looks like you're SOL, and there's just nothing that anyone can do about it. Now,
Interesting.
we had now last week we talked about would they ever give away the Shrouded Memory chapter for cost or later on for free. Now, Palais did respond. He said, giving away the HK chapter for free has precedent. They gave away Rise of the Hutt Cartel to subscribers 6 months after it released. The question is an entire expansion worth more or less than 1 hour of an exclusive subscriber reward. Exclusivity isn't necessarily a permanent thing. The games industry does have limited time exclusivity, mostly on consoles. Then again, as a holder of the Scepter of Shifting Sands, but not a Scarab Lord, I tend to have mixed feelings about exclusivity. That's a WoW reference, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so what he's basically saying is, sure, it was exclusive at the time, like now, but give them 6 months or a year and, things might change and they might just give it away anyway to subscribers only, or just charge for it in the cartel market or something like that. So, and I got to say, maybe that's okay. Maybe it doesn't matter. We got access to it now, and if other people get access to it in 6 months or a year, well, actually I don't care either way, so sure, why not? Yeah. Does it leave a bitter taste in your mouth for having subscribed for all that period just to get it, and then find out you would have got it for free anyway? Don't know.
I don't know.
Well, not really.
Not me, but maybe other people.
Maybe. All right. Now, there was a message over the weekend that essentially boils down to, this is from Eric Musco, he mentioned that a large influx of posts have appeared on the official forums relating to data mine content. This is obviously for Knights of the Eternal Throne, and the data miners have been busy because the closed PTS has begun, and due to a little tiny flaw in the system, which the data miners told BioWare about a year ago, and apparently they can't fix, the data miners still have access to. So they've been mining their little hearts out. I have completely avoided looking at anything to do with story. I may have peeked at some of the class changes that are coming, but it's more or less meaningless at this stage. You could probably get a general shape of it, but we're never going to talk about that because it's not official. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even bother, personally. But anyway, the warning was, if you post anything about data mine content, just alluding to it, referencing it, whatever, they will simply delete the posts, and you'll probably get infractions and eventually banned. So don't.
Right.
Now, they made it clear in the past, they can't stop the data miners doing what they're doing. They just can't. It's too hard. I mean, they've tried, but unsuccessfully. But maybe they'll get it right at some point. But as soon as something goes out into the wild, you can assume that they'll have their hands on it. But they do not have to let people talk about it on their forums. And so that makes perfect sense. So just be warned. Sure, if you want to get into the data mine stuff and spoil the story for you, seriously, I didn't look at it because I heard other people saying this will be big spoilers. So don't.
Yeah.
Just don't.
I've
But if
heard
you
that
do,
too.
don't post about it on the official forums at least. Now, I mentioned already the closed PTS has begun. Now, curiously, this time, if you are in the closed PTS, if you're in the beta testing program, you're actually allowed to say that you're in the beta testing program. This is different from the previous ones that they've done for Knights of the Fallen Empire and all the rest, which we've also been in. So, yes, Chill and myself are in this one, and we can't talk about it. We will never be
Right.
able to talk about it. And that is because things will be evolving in flux, and anything that we see or would just be potentially overtaken by events. And it's just, this is literally live development of new content, and yeah, what everyone is supposed to see is the final polished result, and
Yes.
so be it.
Right. It's always interesting to see it, but it's very hard to it's very hard to dance around it on the podcast. It really is sometimes.
Yes. So
Speaking of betas, I actually went ahead and I was going through my archive in my email, and I found my weekend beta invites from before launch.
Nice.
And I was shocked that I still had them. Ironically, some of the pictures and headers and stuff like that are still available, and they still work, and I managed to screen capture them before they go bye-bye.
oh, it's so
That's
cool.
cool.
That was, what, 5 years ago, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
How
Almost
time
exactly.
flies. Now, we had a bunch of posts from Eric Musco, because he's been kind of quiet, and people were talking about the lack of communication. And so he actually, ironically enough, dumped a whole lot of communication on us. He started by saying that, as we've talked about previously, we won't find anything about Knights of the Eternal Throne beyond that teaser image until the 7th of October. Nothing official anyway. When there is a community cantina at New York Comic Con. So 7th of October. That's when the deluge will begin, and after that there will be subsequent blogs, developer blogs, talking about or the various whatever there is in Kotet. So, oh, I'm expecting a package. Sorry, the dog's just starting to bark. And that's why they're kind of quiet at the moment. They're not saying anything because
Right.
just wait until the 7th of October, which is only a few weeks away.
Yeah.
3 weeks,
exactly.
actually.
When a company is about to have an initial public offering, in other words, to sell its stock publicly, they go through a quiet period too, and it's kind of similar in some ways because there's a lot of information that will be divulged, and they just can't do anything before then.
Talk among yourselves.
So Tio's taking care of the dog.
And I have
That's
5
funny.
cats, so I know what it's like. Occasionally they come up and just all of a sudden you're gaming and they hop up on your keyboard or your desk or something like that.
Yeah, when I stream, I have one of the 2 cats we have likes to get attention sometimes. So she jumps she doesn't jump all the way up, but she stretches up and she like bats on my arm until I like pay attention to her.
Yeah, one actually goes ahead and is so polite. His name is Chip. He's an orange tabby, and he just goes ahead and bats my arm when he wants attention. And he is just one of the most polite cats I've ever had.
All right. That's my replacement Pixel C tablet from Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, the touchscreen just stopped working, so they just replaced it. So if you ever buy anything from the Google store, it's amazing. They'll have a new one to you. You don't have to return the old one until the new one turns up, and they'll have it to you in like 2 or 3 days. So
Wow. Cool.
it's good stuff. Right, where were we?
We were in the quiet period before
Yeah.
Kotet.
Yep. Now, there were some other questions which Eric responded to. Now, his answers. Keep in mind that Eternal Throne is a continuation of the story in Kotfi. There are things that are not yet wrapped up or completed, and that is intentional. You aren't through the whole story yet, so as we've talked about before, it seems like it's a 2-phase arc, if you like, a 2-season arc perhaps, and Kotfi was the first arc. Kotet will complete that arc, is the implication that they've given. It sounds like, from what Charles Boyd has said, they will wrap things up at the end of Knights of the Eternal Throne.
Yeah. And that was one of the smart things they did about calling it season 1. So I think it really should have given people a heads up that, there was more to come.
Now, will there be a brand new story beyond Kotet? Well, I guess we'll see. Depends on the subscriber numbers, etc.
Do you by any chance find that it's going to go back to the old modicum, pub versus imp, or do you think that that's all done?
That's a great question. The whole alliance thing makes that hard, but I suspect they could make it work somehow. So, yes, in other words. I would assume that if you went back, for example, to the Republic, if you're a Republic character, then for whatever reason, all your companions who were formerly from the Empire will just decide to come with you because they like you so much. So,
exactly.
Yep, they could do it.
And then all of the companions that are in the Alliance and all of that stuff, do they just disappear or go their own merry way?
I reckon they'll stick with us. They've made this decision, and I guess they could just take them away from you. But remember, players will have invested a lot of time and effort in at least some of those companions who aren't their own classes, and so they can't just rip them away from you. Well, they could, but they won't. So we're stuck with that now. We don't ever go back to our intimate set of companions, I suspect. It's just that ship has sailed, given the choices that they've made. Next from Eric. The feedback of Killen Sky Troopers has definitely been passed on to the team. They are aware. Thank everything. It's not just me. Oh, great. That's fantastic. It must be a common theme.
I noticed when I was doing Kotfi recently that, they really focused on the design of the Sky Troopers. I mean, we always knew they're gorgeous, but there's so much detail there, and it's clear they knew it was going to be a well-used asset.
Yes, sad but true. All right, so there were some other things. Let's see. Guild management is something that they're always looking to improve. Guild quality of life is important, and although I have nothing specific to announce, this is always a place we are looking for opportunities. So, if there's anything in particular that you want, by all means give them some ideas. Sounds like nothing is specifically planned, but if anything turns up, they probably will add it. PvP balance, really any balance, is an ongoing thing. We're always looking at the current state of the game and what needs to change. We have an expansion coming, and if you look at previous expansions as an example, they typically come with changes.
Indeed.
What could that possibly mean? Well, let's look back at previous expansions. Well, we had the whole discipline system last time.
Yeah.
When was that actually? No,
that was
Shadow of Revan?
I think that was Shadow of Revan.
Yeah. We had the whole discipline thing with Shadow of Revan. With 4.0, it actually wasn't that profound at all. It's actually pretty much the same.
Right. A few new abilities, mobility abilities, typically.
And however, this is the chance for them to reset things if they're going to. Now, player choice is an interesting topic. Kotfi in many ways had more impact for your choices than our previous stories. One of the pieces of feedback we saw is that sometimes you make a choice, but not see the consequence until much later on. Cough. This can definitely lessen the feeling that those choices had impact, since the choice and impact of that choice were far apart. That is, we all have very short attention spans and memories, and therefore if you kind of delay it for too long, we just kind of forget about it. So it's really better to have that karma to come back to haunt you more sooner rather than later.
Right. There's a little that's a little cynical, but really, if you look at any sort of choice that you're going to make in the game, it's pretty hard to look ahead, 10 chapters and say, oh, okay, well, if I do this, 6 months from now, I'm going to lose a companion or gain a companion. It's impossible to predict that sort of thing. And So it does have impact, but not anything that you have any real control over.
Right.
So it's pretty tricky to say it's all about just the fact that we're short attention span theater sort of thing.
And also, if you have alternate characters, it's hard to remember what choice you made for what character and all of that
Yes.
stuff too.
Right. I'm making all kinds of different choices just to see the different dialogues and stuff. So.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Developer feedback is something that waxes and wanes a bit. Where we have opportunity to seek out feedback and for players to engage with developers, we try to take it. Previous conversations around class changes are the best examples. Did we have class representatives at some point? That didn't work out too well. I know it isn't ongoing, but we try to capitalize on those opportunities as we can. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Engaging with the community at a detailed level, at least just the open, broad community, is time-consuming, and you get all kinds of opinions. So obviously, people give opinions on the official forums and on Reddit and in other places, and they do troll those. Sorry, they do farm those for ideas, but an ongoing conversation can be hard. And then finally, someone said, "Oh God, are you saying I can finally enjoy the story content? I don't know why I couldn't previously." Oh, after killing 30 Sky Troopers, yes. Was what Eric said. Yeah, well, anyway.
Eric's funny.
Yes. Now, Hawk, our guest, started a thread last week on the official forums where he asked... Let me just bring it up so I got the exact wording. So what you said, Hawk, was people yelling about no group content. Why is it that a majority of people I talk to in-game say they prefer the solo RPG experience? I'm finding it difficult to recruit for my guilds because of the no group content. People just want the entitled XP boosts and guild bank stuff associated with it. Am I missing something wanting to build my guild so we can do operations, PvP, flashpoints, etc.? Interesting question. And... well, the general consensus I got from reading through this, a lot of people were saying, well, all the people interested in that kind of stuff have left because there's just no new content along those grounds. At least one person was saying, I don't see what the problem. All the people they know love operations and still do them, etc. So, to some extent can be who you talk to, but they've made no secret that the whole Kotfi Kotet direction is story, and that is a kind of solo RPG. Let's continue let's continue KOTOR kind of thing, which is very much a solo RPG.
Yeah, and also, honestly, I've always been a solo player. I enjoyed it. I never cared about ops or PvP or anything that couldn't be soloed. But now I want to go ahead and experience the MMO side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And because of people getting sick of the multiplayer aspect, it's hard to find somebody that will be patient enough and all of that stuff to do it. I won't leave the game no matter how much people complain or put the game down. It's a Star Wars KOTOR sequel, That's the way that I look at it.
Right.
And I was reading that BioWare got rid of or the person left their lead raid designer a while ago, and it never really hit me until recently. Why don't they bring
George Smith.
someone in?
Yeah.
That would satisfy somebody, the screaming for raids. And in the meantime, what do I do about my guilds in the long term? Are the guilds dying because of no group content, or is it, as some said, that the taste change in real life has interfered with gameplay?
What do you think, Jill?
Well, I think it does make a certain amount of sense that the players who are interested in operations and so on have sort of moved to other MMOs
For now.
where the content has been kept a little greener, and so that it makes sense. I mean, we know that the numbers seem to be pretty good, pretty steady as far as the actual players go, and then it's just a question of whether what these particular players are actually interested in. And what we found out from our psychology friend a few weeks ago was that story is very important, and operations and other group content not nearly as much, but Although there was a significant minority who are still interested in operations and other group content in the game, and are still clamoring for it. So it's a little tough without new content. It does make it hard. I mean, yes, if they bump up the level and all, which I'm sure they will, you can redo the same operations, but some players are just are going to be kind of done with that. But
The idea is we have new operations, hopefully.
right, exactly. So it kind of leaves folks like you, Hawk, a little out, a little out in the cold, because you want to do it, but it's hard to find the groups who are actually willing to start it up, like that. So
Yeah, and then also pugs don't exactly work because you're afraid of, that the leader is going to take the loot and
Yeah.
all of the trouble that comes up with that. And
It's
all of
also
that
more fun
fun
with
stuff.
friends, guild. Now, Slayers Orange says, how many of those that want to run operations, though, are already in guilds? Which is a good point, as opposed
right.
to being outside a guild at this point and looking for one. Because it's just natural to congregate with others who actually want to do group ups. You may just want to join an existing guild if you do want to seriously try out operations, at least
And
on one
that's why
character.
I'm
At least
in.
for one character, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm in Utini Rage and
Yeah.
Utini Knights. Because unfortunately there's not enough membership in my own guilds
Right.
get to get stuff going on. And Dekion said that they run the Jar Jar events
Joyride.
Wednesday nights
Yep.
on the night side, and I have partaken in that with the World Boss run, and I loved it.
Hmm.
And I think I was accidentally caught on mic one night saying that I wish my guild would have been doing this.
Well, fair enough.
All right. Okay. If you want to contribute, I will include a link to Hawk's thread in the show notes. All right. Now let's just move on to a little bit of other Star Wars news. There was a video released by ILM. That's Industrial Light and Magic, the company that George Lucas formed to create the special effects for the original Star Wars, because nothing existed at the time that would do what he wanted. And
Right.
since then, it's kind of evolved into one of the most advanced special effects studios on the planet. So yes, anyway, they obviously still do Star Wars, and what they have done is released a video entitled Behind the Magic, the visual effects of Star Wars The Force Awakens. What they've done is taken various scenes, they show you the green screen of when they were actually filming it live with the actual actors,
Yes.
and then they show how all of the special effects are layered on top.
That's
And
cool.
it's just amazing.
Yeah, and kind of beautiful too.
Yeah,
And
it's just incredible. So
Yeah. And
well
of course,
worth
they've got
watching.
top-notch editors too. So I mean, the way it's edited together and so on, with all the sound effects and still with the music and such,
Yeah, that's
just
true.
really well done.
Now, believe it or not, when you create a 3D model, you don't just sort of drop in all of the components and layer it up like something like that. It doesn't actually work like that. But it was still cool to see. Very nice.
One of my favorite parts was when they were showing the Jakku and then the crashed Star Destroyer,
Oh,
and they
yes.
showed all the little pieces that had to be built up to get it to look just right. And there was like hundreds of them, like that.
If you have any talents along those lines, 3D modeling is a skill that will be much in demand. Well, it is sort of now and will become more so in the future with 3D printing and, well, any kind of online 3D environment. So, yes. It's kind of like modern day sculpting, but in the virtual world.
Hmm.
Anyway, now, yep. And the other thing I wanted to mention was Amy Hennig, who was the creative director for the Uncharted series of games. We've known that she's working on Star Wars, a new Star Wars game. We don't know when it's coming out, but it will be a while. She was talking about it on a panel at PAX West.
I remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is an article about it on DualShockers.com where they kind of covered what she said in detail with quite a few quotes. She said, and just to cut to the important bits, she's working very close, well, the team is working very close with the Lucasfilm Story Group and Doug Chang, you may have heard of and seen in various Star Wars videos over the years. He's their art director and senior creative director at Lucasfilm. And what she was trying to work out is what is an authentic Star Wars story, and how do we make more? Because their project is an original story. And she made the point that they're part of the same sort of emerging track of properties that, like obviously episodes 7, 8, and 9, Force Awakens, and whatever the other ones are called, is evolving that story further. And then she referenced films like Rogue One and the Han Solo story and Rebels, which are set back in the past. The implication is they're going to stick this game somewhere in the future. Maybe after episode 7, perhaps? Who knows? But maybe carry the story forward just in the game?
Yeah, it's always tricky for games and novels and so on to go past the current movies.
Yeah.
Because it kind of, I mean, especially the way they're trying to do canon right now, I mean, it kind of sets, whatever they do into stone. So, any future movies are sort of bound by this canonical content to some degree, and I still think they consider the movies to be sort of the central part of their story.
Yeah,
even their now, story even arc, and everything else
canon
needs to sort of flow from it. So it does make it very problematic.
Yeah. So she went on to explore authentic Star Wars can mean more than just getting a Scout Walker. But it's all about the new stuff, the new characters, the new story, the new locations, the new creatures, and the new tech that we see in the movie. Like the new Stormtrooper armor as a simple example. So yes, they're definitely going to be set in that era, the future. All of this stuff has to sit authentically alongside the Star Wars that we're so familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Which Force Awakens really did have to strike a balance there. Keep it similar enough that it was still Star Wars without diverging too far. Now, she compared it to the series she worked on previously, which was Uncharted, and sounds like Indiana Jones was very much an inspiration. And she gave the example that, or she said that with those stories, with the Uncharted series, you actually kind of stick with Indy the whole time, or your main character. There are times you cut away, but it's always something that informs you on what he is doing. You don't cut away to the bad guys, whereas in Star Wars, you're always cutting away to the bad guys and seeing what they're doing. It's because it's a movie. She goes on to say this is the privileged observer problem. When we watch a film, we're the privileged observer. We're not the protagonist in the story, because we are just a passive observer and obviously can be shown whatever the director wants to show, because we're not the actual person in the movie. So how do you do that in a game where you're supposed to identify with the protagonist and cut away the things that they don't know? And she didn't actually explain how she would do that. So that remains a problem, to sort of make a game that's like the movie, but maintain, but it's still the game.
Well, SWTOR does that very well. I mean, all the cutscenes feature your character very prominently. Hardly ever do you cut away at all, and when you do, it's usually very brief, and it rarely tells you what the villain is doing unless it's directly impacting, immediately what's going on with your character.
Well,
so,
that's why
they have a lot of the same.
That's why Coffee was so jarring, though, because you actually do cut away to Arkin on the Eternal Throne.
This is true.
Yeah,
I was thinking of the original original storylines.
Absolutely correct. So I believe that SWTOR actually does it right, and so did KOTOR, because they're games, and games are built like that. You're not watching a movie, and sort of borrowing those movie features, the cutting away like the original Star Wars does, it's just a mistake. And so hopefully they'll do less of that in KOTOR. Now, she also said that side characters in Indiana Jones and that type of films are just that, they're just along for the ride. But in Star Wars, of course, you've got Han and Leia, and in Rebels, you've got all the characters, and so it's more of an ensemble. Each of the characters has their own stories, basically. So it's an ensemble cast, and everyone's important. They're not just flash window dressing.
Right, they're not just there to inform what's going on with the protagonist.
And obviously, KOTOR, SWTOR does this fantastically. All the BioWare games do, really, because your companions, they all have their own fleshed out stories. So, yeah, it sounds like they really should look at Star Wars The Old Republic and the BioWare stuff as a kind of inspiration, because that is doing this kind of stuff right. At least the way it used to be done. Yeah, and she says having a lone wolf protagonist just wouldn't feel right, which is pretty much Uncharted. And the other thing is honouring the fact that these characters are underdogs. Especially in a Star Wars story, they're always going to be outgunned, outmatched, and outmanned. Now, that's actually not the case in our games with KOTOR and SWTOR. Your character's usually pretty meaty in terms of what they can do.
Pretty badass, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Again,
So,
maybe in the original class story, I mean, your character is sort of developing. Often they're quite weak in the first act, where you're maybe being sent to the Sith Temple or whatever. You might still be a slave, whatever, or just, having been released as a slave, that sort of thing. But yeah, usually by the end of Act 3, some of your characters are galaxy famous, galaxy-wide, have galaxy-wide fame, and might be on the Sith Council or whatever. So
exactly. It just goes to show you, you don't have to be the underdog, because sometimes it's cool
not
to
for
be
the whole
hero.
time. Yeah. Towards the end, you get pretty powerful.
Yes, true. All right, now a bit of community. Just a shout out to our own Dread, XJ, and JJ from the Utini Guilds on behalf of our Utini guildmate Grace O'Malley, who happened to attend the Utini Cantina with her daughter and her friend Lee. And Lee is also known as Cordia or Caranome. Haven't seen him around for a while. But Grace was certainly there. We met them in person in Las Vegas. Anyway, she wanted to wanted to shout out to Dread, XJ, and JJ because they've been helping her get through hard mode flashpoints for the Dark versus Light event. So,
nice.
On her behalf, thank you guys.
Yeah.
The Utini leaders have been very, very supportive of other players in organising all kinds of events, operations, and the hard mode flashpoints and whatever, just to get all that done from the DVL event, the higher tiers anyway. So it's nice work. Anyway, that's the news.
All right, that'll bring us to the Academy. And this week, continuing on the topic of PvP, SWTORista explains how arenas are different than regular 8v8 war zones. Thank
Just
you,
a short one
SWTORista.
this week.
Thank you, SWTORista. And that'll bring us to the Force Feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And Charlie Kranitoko writes in, regarding Tio inferring that Charlie's tweet about KOTOR and SWTOR appearing on UK TV referenced someone else's Reddit post. Found a Reddit post. It was my Reddit post.
Sorry, Charlie.
All right. And Blay, a.k.a. Blacklock, wrote in a couple things. One, I don't think my kitten liked that I stayed up late to watch OotiniCast last night. He was attacking my ankles with his teeth all night.
Blair says his kitten apparently runs across his keyboard as well. So the kitten's been typing quite a few comments into chat. Actually make a lot of sense, Blair. It's kind of a bit weird, but sure.
And then number 2, here you go, Tio. You said you couldn't remember all of the companions, and there's a rather impressive flowchart, I guess.
Now, he's got
Holy
one
cow.
that is everything, the massive, long, as in wide, flowchart, which I'm going to include all of this with Blaze's permission in our show notes, so you can actually see them for yourself, and he'll also split them up into 3 different images. It has every single companion in the game, and where you actually get them, more or less, and yeah, nice work, Blay.
Wow.
And yes, he did all this in Excel. Jeez, I didn't know you could actually do that particular thing in Excel.
That had to
That's
have
nice.
been a lot of work to do. I'm very impressed with that one.
Yeah. Blay loves his spreadsheets.
Wow. All right. Chicken Sith wrote in regarding Talos Drillick, achievement unlocked, Dad Brain. 12 more levels or so to unlock Dad Humor. I know the pain.
Referring to my inability to remember the name of that particular companion, Talos Drellick, the archaeologist.
That's right.
Was blanking on that, yes. So apparently 12 more levels or so before Dad Humor. So I'll look forward to that.
Yes.
I'm sure it's already kicking in.
Yeah. About when you hit Act 2. Locked on Target Show wrote in, you had to stay subscribed to the game for 9 months to get the chapter if I'm doing the math right. So theoretically, the price of the bonus chapter to pacify subscribers would have to be equivalent to $135 US in order to be sold without complaint. That being said, the only thing I really want from the chapter is Zoom as a companion. I know it's not really pronounced that way, but sorry. I've only been playing for the last 2 months. The week that Star Wars Celebration happened is when I started SWTOR again. But now I will have no way to acquire HK55, Nico, which I'm not so upset about, or Zoom, simply because I was not playing the game at the time they were given to subscribers. Would you feel upset if they were offered as a bonus to anyone who stays sub for more than a year for a given period, like purchasing a year subscription pack and then receiving the chapter as a perk? I think it'd be a fair price for re-releasing the pack, but this is speaking from a biased position, as I sorely want to experience the chapter for myself and have Zoom in my alliance, as I really like the character. That being said, I do not see the chapter or Zoom being worth $135, but I would be open to buying a year-long subscription plan if I got that chapter included.
Interesting idea. Very interesting.
Very interesting
Now,
idea.
They're not going to sell it for $135, as we've already talked about, I suspect. Yeah, I'm sort of weakening on this. I think Police might be right. Give them enough time and they probably will give it away, because the value of anything depreciates over time. It may be worth $135 a sub now, but that isn't the only thing we were getting for $135. We were getting access to the game and all those chapters as they came. So
Right.
It's not really that much. Yeah. And selling it as a perk with a year-long sub, you could only get 6 months at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of
That's
cool.
a fantastic idea. Yeah, but I suspect they'll do something else, like give it away for free to everyone, or make it a sub-only perk or something.
Right. For, yeah, the way that,
Just, yeah.
like we mentioned earlier, McCab and Shadow of Revan as well got opened up.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did it with the launch of Kotet, to be honest. But,
Could be.
Is
we'll
there
see.
actually a lifetime membership that they offer, or do you have to do like every 6 months?
It's the same as, well, several other games, other MMOs have offered lifetime subs, but SWTOR never has. I would
never
have
did.
bought that in a second if it had turned up at any point.
Yeah, it would have been worth it at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Is that enough on that one? Okay. Joseph Brown wrote, well, I've been playing with Zoom, and I feel the voiceover for her must have had a blast doing it. I watch Volk play with it live after seeing the deadly lag. I wait and enjoyed it with a lot less lag, and only found in chat was Rusk and trying to get the stuff wanted by him. Okay. Sorry, some of that was hard to read.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, yeah. I think Zoom, the voice actor, did a great job. Clearly did enjoy doing it, and why not? Because the writing was really good as well. So from Hall Hood, so
It would be very strange having Zoom in your alliance, which I apparently now do have, given, the chapter.
Just
Yes.
watching Chill do the bonus HK thing, I was just loving Zoom.
Yes.
They did the entire thing absolutely perfect.
Oh yeah, it was well done. It's true for sure.
All right, Pyrochenko of the Shotgun Jawa Guild on the Harbinger. I like that. I just wanted to provide a comment on episode 277's discussion of Better Than Cross Server. I particularly like Charel's spelling analysis of whether BioWare Austin had achieved any of the goals outlined in the Musco 2014 post in 2015 and 2016. I do think that Charel missed one important content element that may relate to the aspect of enhancing and creating social systems. I speculate that BioWare intended Conquest to be part of that enhancing social systems objective, probably more so than the meager quality of life improvements like raising the member cap, or showing a legacy name, or allowing guild ranks and permissions to be selected on multiple guild members simultaneously. In a similar vein, the tie-in to personal strongholds and guild strongholds and flagships released at the same time as Conquest does seem to fit in with enhancing social systems. The notion that of leaderboards, planetary control, unique rewards for placing and for placing first, etc. are very important to some players and guilds. Conquest definitely contributes to a guild's identity, both in terms of activities and digital space, and provides incentives for content that might otherwise be underutilized. All those are excellent points.
Good points. We forgot about Conquest. So did Charel, but so did we.
Right. Charles also neglected to mention that the cross-faction design of Odessan Proving Grounds, OPG, is partly a fix for queue times, especially since you don't even need to be level 65, let alone have completed Kotfi for it to pop.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
That's right. It's just the one. That's just the one war zone. But yeah, and because of that, it pops so much. I think they tried to make it so it wouldn't pop quite as much as it did originally, but it still comes up quite a bit.
Yeah, and they have talked about adding that to the other war zones,
Yeah,
but not
I can
yet
see
making
that.
them truly cross-faction.
I could certainly see both of the Hutball matches certainly being that
Yeah.
way. There's no reason that has to be on one side and the other. Snave questioned Musco about Better Than Cross Server in an interview in October 2014. Not sure if that is before or after the post mentioned in the podcast segment. But Musco was questioned quite intensely about this again in Snave's second interview on June 15th of this year. And then there's a link to one of the
The interview.
threads.
Yeah.
All
Now,
right.
wasn't that just I forget who it was, but that was somebody at one of the Cantina events that was kind of half in the bag, and he was talking about that, and he wasn't supposed to say anything, or it was just something to troll the community with.
He
Well,
may have
it's
been
sort of-
speaking a little. No, he wasn't trolling the community. They were presumably thinking of something, but whether that came to fruition or not is unclear.
Right.
Yeah, so he spoke probably out of turn, and this is why BioWare doesn't say anything unless they're absolutely sure since then anyway. So be very, very careful.
Exactly.
That's a bad policy. At least give us something. And that's the main thing that's going on in the forums right now about communication. And I believe Musco did a post on that too.
Yes, I think we already talked about those.
Mhm.
Those were the ones
Right.
we brought up earlier.
Let's see. And TR, this next bit.
It's all part of the same.
That's just
now.
part of the same thing. Do you want me to read it or not?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, live PvP focused interview with Eric Musco.
Oh, no, about that bit. Just go from the init, Eric.
Okay. In it, Eric acknowledges that the successful implementation of cross-faction in OPG is prompting them to explore it for other existing war zones, most notably Hutball. I'd personally add arenas to that list as well. There you go.
Right.
He does, however, glaze over the better than cross-server question quite well and essentially defers it to later announcements. Fair enough. As a personal observation, I know there are people on both sides of the debate, ones that vehemently cling to the belief that cross-server queues will revitalize PvP and possibly Group Finder PvE, and others that feel PvP as a whole needs more in-depth development, lest cross-server queues become only a temporary band-aid, which will ultimately fall off when people realize that the other basic issues about PvP remain unaddressed. Personally, I think it's highly likely to reduce queue times just by virtue of a net expansion in queue size, even if it ultimately doesn't increase community-wide participation. I know the technical challenges are probably significant. I can also sympathize with the developer's point that they would rather address the root causes of disinterest in PvP as a fix for queue times to boost participation across all servers and factions, rather than spend extensive technical development time that could only impact a few people at the highest levels of competition. I'm not sure what the best course of action is, but I'm hoping to get more answers with 5.0.
I suspect that given everything we've heard and seen to date, that true cross-server, as in being able to queue and play with people on other servers, is just never going to happen. It's technically possible, because otherwise other games do it, but it's a massive architectural change, which they probably there's no value, not sufficient value in doing it.
Along those
Yeah.
same lines, do you guys think that there's going to be actual server mergers? Because that's been talked about too.
No, I don't. No, given the way they've done it with all the free transfers for so long, people have congregated on the servers they want to be on, and we've got effectively the mega populations, like on the Harbinger, and I believe the two East Coast server, Jedi Covenant and the Shadowlands, are still pretty solid, the Harbingers being the most populated, and the others are just smaller servers. So, given the way they've set things up, not even sure it's really extra hardware that they're losing by doing it like that. So,
And then
no.
are they just going to shut down the less populated ones, or no?
No, I don't think they need to. There's no reason not to keep them around,
Yeah.
at least for now.
Right. It's true. I think you're right too, because certainly whenever cross faction comes up, I mean, it's always been sort of like they never see. I mean, it's clear that they've heard it a million times. It's certainly something that they're fully aware of, but they always talk about it in a way that makes it seem like they don't want to do it, or they're not, putting a lot of people power towards it at the moment. I mean, it could still happen, but it certainly seems like like they try to downplay any notion that they might be heavily working on it. All right. Johnny, Born to Eat Bacon, wrote in. One. Tio, if it makes you feel any better, I just died as HK55. Evaluation? Failure. I just found it amusing that moments after thinking how easy things were dying for me, I got my ass handed to me.
Yeah. Bloody Zoom she does tend to trail behind. Well, at least she did for me.
Right.
And always look behind you, because those mobs these days do tend to appear not in front, but they will ambush you from behind as well.
That's right. Keep an
And
eye
Chill,
on that.
you had a problem with Zoom being line of sight for a couple of times
that's
too,
right?
right?
Yeah, it was the one champion who kind of appears just outside a door, and there's a little bit of a ramp there, and it's just enough of a ramp that she was line of sight from me. And then I think there were some ads that she was focusing on instead, or maybe she wasn't quite line of sight with the boss, who was pretty big. Except I think that actually goes to the feet. Anyway, for whatever reason, she stopped focusing on me, and so I actually jumped towards her, and also forced her to heal me by directly clicking on one of her abilities. So, yeah, it was close though. I almost died. So, all right. And 2 from Born to Eat Bacon. Does this count as Star Wars humor? And a little tweet here. Why do SWTOR players never carry cash? Because they hate change.
Well, it's certainly bad enough to be Star Wars humor. So yes.
Yes. All right. And 3, my strongholds are being randomly haunted by inactive companions.
Now, Johnny did include a couple of pictures, and I will include those in the show notes.
Okay.
A little glitch in the Matrix. I'm sure they'll resolve that sooner or later.
And Kelly wrote in, hey guys, just wanted to thank you for all your hard work and consistency over the years. I have enjoyed the podcast since day 1. Wow. Thank you, Kelly. That's a lot of episodes. My memories of SWTOR are many and varied. The first game where I got in on beta, first phase, to my guild was on Black Volcars, to the guild I eventually became GM of on the Bastion. But Chapter 16, given the current direction of the game, was the metaphorical straw, and many backs broke. My entire guild is unsubbed now, and we are playing World of Warcraft. Some of us for the first time, some returning after swearing it off, with real swearing, 6 years or so ago after Cataclysm, and right when SWTOR launched. We smugly enjoyed the fact that Pandaria and WOD were terrible expansions by most accounts. Fast forward 5 years, and at the end of the day we were still playing SWTOR, only because of each other, the friendships we had formed, but for nothing else. We're not playing much anymore. Ops were falling apart more often than not, and it started becoming a self-defeating exercise, and we were sad about it. Bright side, so the shoe has switched feet, and now WoW has a great expansion on its hands with Legion. If WoW can have one of its most successful expansions ever after 6 years of blah/meh/garbage expansions, then there is hope for SWTOR. If only they can pull their heads out of the sand. Patience you must have. Legion seems great. We are once again having a lot of fun. Our TeamSpeak is thriving again. We all log on more. We're active and doing things together again. People tend to leave MMOs with anger, as there is emotion tied to the hours spent working on a tune and the customization and ownership that we feel. My advice to all is to leave happy with the memories you've made and try to find a new way to interact with your friends. If one game stops providing what you need, that is disappointing, but it is okay to take a break, to come back to it later when it offers you what you're looking for. As for my guildies and I wanted less responsibility and more activity, so we joined an established guild on a populated server, and they were happy to have roughly 15 raid experienced players join their ranks. We will hope for SWTOR to get good again, but in the meantime, it's for the Horde.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, and these guys were here right from the beginning.
Yes, I do appreciate that. Kelly is not burning bridges. Still thinking, and presumably will keep an eye on SWTOR, and how the next expansion goes and so on. And if it looks to be interesting, Kelly, I'm sure, will be back. So
Yep, it's not like you can't come back. So just don't delete all your characters and give all the
Right.
credits away and stuff. Just, it'll be still there when you come back. If you come back, but yeah, if things change, and who knows. They've been saying some interesting things about Knights of the Eternal Throne in terms of repeatable content. They won't give us anything specific, but something is changing in that regard, so who
Good.
knows?
Good. All right. Were there any other questions?
Not that I saw. What's the contest that Bad Feeling has, Johnny? Wait for the latency. The bridge boss in the final in that chapter. No, maybe I'll have a look, and we'll talk about that next week.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
wrap there. Anything else you want to cover, Mr. Hawk? It's a good length for a show, actually.
No, just everything that I was talking about with all the promo stuff. I'll send you the links and
Thank you.
all
Okay.
of that fun stuff. Thank
And
you
if-
again for having me
Yeah.
on the show.
Pleasure, mate.
And if someone does want to join you for operations, where would they look to find you?
They can get in touch with me on SWTOR PC or in game under my numerous tunes. Just type in the first word Hawk, Hawke, and generally there will be something up there. They
Right.
can also do /C join Hawke as well.
Your
And
own
are you looking
channel.
to
Nice.
are you looking to do ops on Republic or Empire side or both?
Both right now. I would like to. I've done Karaga's already. I think the next one is Eternity Vault, if I'm not mistaken, and then just go progressively up with that.
You mean Explosive
Alright.
Conflict?
Whatever the next
Karaga's?
operation is after Karaga's.
Yeah.
I think it might be Explosive Conflict. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
All right, cool. All right, that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Otini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @utinicast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, utinicast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to utinicast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you to Hawk.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll see you next week.
All right, Hawk, keep recording. We'll stop in a sec. Everyone, thank you for watching, and we will be back next week. How close are we? There's now 3 weeks to go before the big Kotet deluge, and it will be on a Friday, won't it? So, effectively, 3 more shows, the deluge, and then we talk about it. I wonder if we should do a special show. We'll think about that. Anyway, have a good week, guys, and may the Force be with you, and or serve you well.